Welcome back, everybody. North Korea's hack of Sony Entertainment at the tail of last year. It obviously got everybody's attention, not just because a movie never even made it to the theaters, but more importantly, about what it said about where we are technologically in this country and the havoc that can be caused now simply from one computer to another. Now, the FBI says that North Korea is, in fact, behind the hack that hit the brakes on The Interview, that the movie. The question is, what can we do about it? But more importantly, what will that kind of portend going forward? And you know, Andrew, we had this whole debate about, the idea of, should they have or shouldn't they have? And even the president at his year-end press conference said that he wished Sony had called him because he would have told them they shouldn't have capitulated to this. But it certainly is a wake-up call because people have said, listen, it's not just blackmailing. You could screw the markets unbelievably with this. I mean, you could shut down major security apparatuses technologically. We already know about all the personal and even public thefts that are going on.
Let me just throw out a thesis that nobody's email, no system, no company, no government, nothing. Nobody's email system is safe. Nobody's computer system is safe. You have to make that assumption given that Sony's been hacked, the U.S. government's been hacked.
But didn't we already know that?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Nobody acts as though that's the case.
And in fact, thousands of people, maybe millions, are listening to you right now.
Hi, your stuff, your email's not safe.
But by the way, people thought of that as corporate espionage, or maybe somebody might take your personal. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking about screwing around with governments, national security systems. I mean, people are thinking about that in that context and saying, wait a minute, what could that mean? We see some bad Die Hard movies who do this, but it's...
But we're so far into it that like people aren't going to give up their cell phones. People aren't going to give up their use or overuse of email or texting and all of that stuff. So it seems like we've gone too far to actually be able to change our actions.
Wring your hands and move on. Honestly, this is the new normal. I mean, I'm in a tough position on that issue because I think it's terrible that they folded, right? It sends all kind of bad cultural issues. On the other hand, they shouldn't have made a movie about killing the president of another. We wouldn't like it if they did it to us, and we shouldn't have done it to them.
But Mr. Journalist, I ask you this.
Yes.
Are you comfortable in 2015 with the realities that you say, wring your hands and move on, about some of the privacies that you're going to be giving up, whether you know it or not, just because that's part of the compact now? If we're going to get these bad guys, I got to get into your emails. If I'm the government, I'm going to be looking through your financial statements. I want to know who's doing what. Are you ready for that trade-off?
I fulsomely denounce it, and I recognize that it is the reality. Right? They know my credit card too, don't they?
It's been a reality. I mean, we're almost in denial, Richard, to say that it's not that way now. I mean, do you really think that prominent journalists, that the government doesn't know what you do, how you do it, how often do you really believe that?
I think most people don't think that. I think most people don't think that.
Most people believe if I don't do anything wrong, I got nothing to worry about.
Right, but Visa knows, and MasterCard knows.
I've seen deputy mayors, deputy mayors in New York City that can tell you they know for a fact that they were tailed by private eyes and that they were audited by the IRS because of a political hit. But you ask for terms, cyber terrorism, playing on what you just said, and a name that we're going to definitely know in this new year, 2015, Loretta Lynch, the U.S. attorney who's now been appointed by President Obama. We're going to know her name either for good things or bad. If she doesn't make it past the Republican Senate and Congress, or still coming on as the new U.S. Attorney General.
Ms. Zaina.
Oh, I have to come up with a term? Or, let me just say, though, I think that if people should have, after Edward Snowden and after the NSA revelations, taken seriously that this is the reality that we're living under. And unfortunately, people don't seem to have accepted, I think, as Andrew said, that this can happen to them. And a scary part of this is that people seem to be okay with big companies having all this information about us, but not the government. And so there's a real disconnect there that people have to get their hands around. It's really the reality that we're living in. And, I heard the president say they shouldn't have capitulated, but the government's also got to figure out how they're going to respond, because this is a national security issue.
They're figuring it out on the fly, to be fair to you. Andrew, you got another term, and obviously our business knows about this, but people have changed the way that they consume information and how they consume programming.
cord cutting is the term. It's been a trend for the last couple of years, but it's going to hit its renaissance in 2015. HBO is offering a streaming service much like Netflix, so you don't have to get HBO on your cable system in order to watch HBO. CBS is doing that as well, and there are other networks that are going to do the same thing. I think that's the future of a lot of the distribution of what we do of television, and I think it's going to dramatically change how people view movies, how people view television, and it may weaken the position of companies like Comcast, like other big, multimedia companies that are so used to piping through cable and internet through our television.
Interesting.
The one name I think we're going to be talking a lot about, he's not necessarily a name you haven't thought of yet, but Rand Paul. And I will tell you, there's a lot of things he espouses that I don't agree with, but I find it fascinating that he has staked out positions all over the map. How many Republicans you know of that came out yesterday and said, yeah, I'm behind the president when it relates to Cuba? And how many Republicans you know that don't want to take a very active global role here in the war on terror, or for that matter, any other military enterprise? For me, it's just interesting how, if somebody's willing to not be attached to a political party, but to espouse their own ideologies, and if they have a little bit of charm, and if they've got a little bit of sense of the moment in the media, how that could upend things. Now, it takes a certain politician, but I think we're going to start to see more of that. And to me, that makes it a little bit more interesting. Don't agree with everything the guy's got to say, but I do think that when politicians are unpredictable, I think sometimes it's even better for the system.
And he's one of the few Republicans who's been going to historically black colleges.
Yep.
He went to Ferguson, and he's been trying to reach out and say, listen, this is where we stand.
He might not have voted for the Civil Rights Act,
but he's there.
So me and Donald might be eating at the same restaurants, but yet he's going to black colleges. So again, to say he's interesting, I think is putting it politely.
Bring on the free thinkers, right?
Exactly.
I think we
Bring
can
on the
all
free
agree
thinkers.
about that on this table.
Perfect
right?
segue. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us.